Well, hello and welcome to another movie review from MBE. Today, John, we are going to be talking about 2000's Castaway, starring Tom Hanks. And this film is obviously directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Yes.
Now, John, just before we hand it over to you, so you can take us through this review experience, I did go and see this film on its initial run in the cinemas with my dad. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Was always looking forward to it. Saw the previews for it, the trailers, months and months before. Big fan of Tom Hanks, like you are.
Who isn't?
Exactly. You've got to be mad if you don't like Tom. But he's recently just recovered from the coronavirus, him and his wife.
I was horrified, Stephen. I seen that news.
Yeah.
Horrified.
So, but he made a full recovery, and
yes,
he's
a good guy.
And his brother, who's also a good guy, Colin, I think his name is, has been keeping us updated with obviously his health. So anyway, I digress. We're going to move on to the movie review now, John. Castaway, what was your initial thoughts of this film, first time viewing? I thoroughly enjoyed it, I must say.
Transfixing experience, Stephen, watching this guy, this great actor, on his lonesome, acting with a volleyball. Just, not many other actors could pull that off, Stephen. No. It's almost what like Marlon Brando would do in a sort of Apocalypse Now, where he's kind of this, he's unhinged in certain parts, but he's still obviously some form of tether to reality, but just a really transfixing viewing experience watching this. Just everything about it, Stephen. Zemeckis knows how to make a good movie. We've seen it with Back to the Future, and I'm sure various other movies which
Forrest Gump,
Forrest Gump. He did Forrest Gump. I didn't know that. There you go. You learn something new every day. So this guy knows how to make a damn good movie. Yeah. And this is a damn good movie. What struck me more though, Stephen, I was going to speak about this at the end, but I feel like it's probably better flinging this in just now. Yeah. This movie won 0 Oscars. 0 Oscars. Now, we'll get into why Tom Hanks didn't win an Oscar later on in this review, but how in God's name did this movie not win an Oscar for sound mixing or editing or technical aspects? Because it was truly groundbreaking what they were doing on this island. Yeah. Shooting one guy.
Probably have to go back and actually see the categories and see who was in them, to be honest with you.
Gladiator was for sure one.
Oh, well, there you are. You've had such a good question. I think that's probably why, but it depends. I can't remember its initial release, the timing of it either. I'm not really sure, but Zemeckis, John, fantastic.
I didn't know he'd done Forrest Gump, that's crazy.
He's a fantastic filmmaker, isn't he? You know, out with obviously Back to the Future, you know, you look at the likes of Romancing the Stone, as I said, you know, Forrest Gump, etc. He's also had his hand in a lot of producing other films as well. Contact being one of them as well. I'm pretty
fantastic
sure it's an amazing film. So I mean, I think we should just go right into the actual the breakdown of the film then, John. You know, just where it kicks off.
Stephen, the intro's fantastic. It really is. I actually watched this movie last night. I forgot how incredibly cool that intro actually is. Also, it follows this FedEx driver and this parcel from Bettina, the mystery woman on the ranch, who is a sort of sculptor, a welder, follows her package all the way through to Russia. I want to say it's Moscow, because we see the sort of famous chapel or whatever the hell it is. Yeah. I'm not familiar with Russian geography or what the landmarks.
Red Square, wasn't it?
Red Square, that sort of strange building that they have. I don't know if is it the Kremlin? Yeah, there you go. Well, maybe Stephen, you probably know better than me, but yeah, it follows it all the way there, and that kind of links subconsciously, well, not subconsciously, completely consciously, it's a conscious decision from the director. It links Bettina to Chuck. But I've said in my notes, the reason I liked this, Stephen, just from a technical aspect aside, following the package, the camera on it was almost like Nick Cage, Man of War bullet sequence at the start of that movie, I want to say. Yeah. Just what they were doing, sort of thematically, showing that this guy this could potentially be a soulmate for him, Bettina. And that he isn't. They have common interests. They have this shared interest of Elvis. He loves Elvis. She was listening to Elvis in her sort of studio. But she is more chilled, and she's happy to remain in the one place, doing her own thing, living life at a nice, mellow pace. Whereas he's this sort of business-obsessed, time-obsessed FedEx executive who's pushing to speed up delivery packages or package deliveries and whatnot. So I liked the way that they laid that down really early on. It was really, really neat. And obviously, I mean, Tom Hanks doing an amazing speech to these employees in Russia. 87 hours is a shameful outrage. This is just an egg timer. What if it had been something else, like your paychecks or fresh boson, I think it says, berries, or adoption papers? 87 hours is an eternity. The cosmos was created in less time. Wars have been fought and nations lost in less time. Fortunes won and squandered I mean, again, you're 5 minutes into the movie and Tom Hanks is delivering an impassioned speech. I'm hooked right away. Fantastic intro for me, Stephen. Just what they're doing, laying down foundations for future developments in the character arc, bringing these two characters together at the end of the movie. I don't know what your thoughts were on that intro.
I think it just highlighted he's a slave to time, John. Yeah. And I think because of his profession, he's got to be that way. But that's the early indications of the film and this character Chuck, isn't it? Chuck Nolan.
Chuck Nolan.
I mean,
not Norris.
He's definitely that way of thinking. That business first, family second at this point. Yeah. Well, that's the impression I got anyway.
Stephen, and look, that's something you see.
Yeah.
You're right. Chuck gets introduced in just his early development. He's self-absorbed. As you says, he's obsessed with times and deadlines, obsessed with working, scared to commit. I'm flinging in Scottish slang here. Trying my best not to. He's scared to commit to.
He's a big fearty.
Yeah, he's a big fearty, as we say here, which means scared if you're not obviously aware of Scottish lingo. He's scared to commit to his partner, Helen, I think her name is. I don't know if that's what the actual character's name or whether that's the actress's name.
It's Helen Hunt. It's it's Kelly.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly. He's scared to commit to Kelly. And we see that through the sort of Christmas table scene and whatnot. And it just, the way that they develop this guy's character early on, you just, in a way you dislike him, because he's almost dislikable. He's just such a pedantic shit and picking on tiny little details, and we missed it by an hour, the truck and the final drop, and he's pushing the plane through with tailwinds and whatnot. I don't know what your thoughts were on Chuck at the start.
Yeah,
dislikable in a way, but also likeable. I mean, I wouldn't go out and say I hated him.
I think it was just I think that he was distracted very easily with his job. Even during the sort of Christmas dining scenes, you can see his mind was on the job. The pager. That was cringe. But yes, he does get called, doesn't he? I think he's on standby, isn't he? So he does get the call to, obviously, he's got a job he has to do, which kind of lowers the tone of the mood of the table at that point. He's also suffering from toothache. These are just little daft things, that are going to play into the story later on, when he's got to change his sort of way of life.
Yeah.
Not by choice, but he's just got to survive. Yep. And it's all these little things like not visiting the dentist. The convenience of everything that's around him just now that he takes for granted is going to play into it very well, as the story unfolds. But also the actor put on a lot of weight, John. It's not just a big, thick, horrendous looking Christmas jumper he's wearing. Underneath that, there's a lot of weight he's carrying. And I did mention to you, I actually thought you did know this, but
no.
The production's shut down for a year. There is actually the cut in the film, which we'll get to, when the production gave Tom Hanks a year to lose a hell of a lot of weight, and you do see that in the film as well. I don't know too many films. You did mention another film about actors aging, John, where the director picked up on certain years over
it was like a decade,
decade,
he shot from
span.
The early youth, teenage years, all the way through.
Yeah.
He kept bringing them back each year and filmed it through a decade. I don't know what this movie is, but I recall reading about it and I was like, wow, that is very intriguing. But I'm certainly not a big blockbuster movie like this, Stephen, with an actor of the calibre of Tom Hanks taking a year break. That's crazy. The fact that he was willing to commit to this, that shows you. Obviously, Stephen, as we will get into, there's numerous threads of connection. The writer, the cinematographer, even I think the composer, they're all linked to other, and Zemeckis, they're all linked to other Tom Hanks movies and whatnot. So he's also been really impassioned or passionate about this project, so much so that he's willing to go away, go fully method, lose all of the weight over a year and then come back and resume the actual production. So again, that probably speaks volumes for why this movie is as good for me as it is, because if you've got that level of dedication from the crew and the actors, then it's going to be palpable when you actually watch the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Stephen, the other point I picked up on was actually his friend and his wife has cancer.
Yeah.
And also the stewardess comes in and asks him about it. And you see Chuck, he looks surprised. It pans on him, a real close sort of face shot. And he looks kind of confused as to why he's not really... I don't know if he was aware and perhaps he didn't want to speak about it, but it looked like surprise to me that he hadn't asked his friend, that he was unaware that his wife was suffering from cancer. And again, that's just subtly hinting that this guy's so self-absorbed, so obsessed with his job, he's not even picking up in dramatic moments in his friend's life. So again, just the way that Zemeckis and the writer, whose name I have down here somewhere, I cannot for the life of me find it in this goddamn notes, William Broyles Jr., the way that they establish this character, it's really, really meticulous, and it's really well handled. But also, Stephen, we get the plane crash sequence as well, around about this point.
Yeah.
Just toe curling, I've says.
If you've got a fear of flying, it's a listen, I wouldn't like to watch this in flight. I think it would be a very sick thing to do to passengers, because it's very intense. There's not a lot of dramatic CG effects during this crash at all. You get to see obviously the plane in the water and stuff like that, but there's not a lot of special effects involved in this. It's more interior, and what's happening, and there's a lot of close-up shots of Tom Hanks and his expression as the plane's plummeting. Once it hits the surface as well, it's just it's everyone's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Anyone that's got a fear of
Pacific
flying
as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my worst nightmare, Stephen, in the pitch black. I used to get kind of uncomfortable looking at the middle of the ocean on Google Maps back in the day. It'd leave me feeling distinctly uncomfortable. So when you actually put that in a movie with the realism, considering the time as well, it's pretty realistic. I can tell you, Stephen, we will be speaking about CG later on in this movie, and I'm glad they didn't CG the plane, because if that CG is anything to go by, they were clearly cutting in budgets. Yeah. It wouldn't have looked good. It wouldn't have aged well. It would have been Attack of the Clones-esque.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just an amazing sequence. Just the fact he goes to the toilet, and then it blows, something explodes, and the way he's hanging on, I don't know how they shot that, but it was Tom Cruise Mission Impossible.
I think the camera is focused on, I think it's focused on something. It might be that he's looking at his tooth or something like that. Something, I can't remember, but it's tried to make sure the audience is focusing on that with him, so they don't expect what's going to happen as well. So it's quite a neat little trick.
And the way the water appears on the actual cockpit window.
Oh yeah.
When he's ready to hit the water, you see the surprise. That guy taking the bump in the head. It was just harrowing watching that.
Yeah.
Also, it's absolutely required, Stephen, because he goes to this island, and this is necessary for this character. He has to reset and become a new man, reborn. Again, Stephen, I said this to you before we actually started filming this. Watching movies like this from a certain sort of perspective, a certain time, I'm finding I'm analysing them a little bit more. I'm looking at the little details that I perhaps glossed over when I first watched it.
Yeah.
Just little sort of symbolic things going on in this movie. Obviously the angels is hard to miss that. It's one of the most symbolic guardian angel thing on the package following them. But little things like them being barefoot with the trousers, it immediately made me think of Paul McCartney in Abbey Road. And the symbolism, people studying about Paul is dead, the symbolism of sort of being barefoot, it's like dying and reborn, being reborn. That's sort of the symbolism of a man who's shoeless, who has no shoes. So again, he's being reborn on this island. I just thought little things like that were incredible. But Steve, what was your thoughts when he obviously washed up on this island? And the first thing he does is clutch onto FedEx parcels. He's clutching onto the past. He just refuses to let go. He's despondent initially.
He doesn't want to open them either, because obviously it's a federal offence, isn't it, to open up packages. And he's still in that frame of mind, John. I'm not being funny here. If I'm stuck on an island, particularly that island, it was a terrible island to get shored up on, wasn't it? It's basically just nothing there, a bit of a mountain, and nothing else.
Coconuts.
It's terrible, absolutely terrible. But he's still in that frame of mind, John. He's still in the frame of mind of being a company man, and it just happens to be these FedEx. It was obviously part of the crash that was getting washed up along with him. It always annoyed me. I always wanted to open them up, because there could have been stuff in there that he might have. Well, it eventually does
and it
do it, with the ice skates and stuff like that. But
the dress,
just this this sort of early part of the film at this point is interesting to see how he's going to cope without always sort of
his pager stops working immediately. He looks at that on the beach.
Yeah,
dead.
That wasn't a bad thing, wasn't it? But just it kind of gives you an idea of what's in store for this guy. He's not got all these sort of mod cons around him. He's not got time now. Time's irrelevant to him. And really just him working out how he's going to be able to get out of this, or how he's going to survive, because there is that thing throughout the film, John, and I think most of us who've watched this film, what do? Do you live your life do you live the rest of your life on this island in the way that he's living his life, or do you take that chance? That's what the story at this point is all about.
Yeah.
You know, but he's not quite there yet. You know, he's there's obviously shock involved as well. You know, he's just experienced a plane crash, for crying out loud, and then he's I think he was under the water at one point. That dinghy's put him, you know, lifted him right back up to the surface, and then he's shipwrecked, you know, on this island.
Horrendous, Stephen, the shots of those waves.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Just horrendous. But you're right, Stephen, I think he tries to hang himself at some point as well, if I'm not incorrect. And obviously it fails, it snaps. He has multiple injuries as well. Obviously attempts to escape initially, completely fails. I was listening to it with earphones in, the sound of the waves, that sort of soundscape crashing, it was almost again symbolic, like Mother Nature's telling you, nope, you're not leaving this island, you're not ready. You're still that selfish, time-obsessed, business-obsessed man. You need to come here and reset, become a better man, grow, and then you'll come off. It's almost like some biblical shit going on, the stories you hear about in the Bible.
Yeah.
Obviously, heavily metaphorical, we know now, unless some people actually believe in all that theological shit. I don't. But yeah, Stephen, obviously, he cuts his arm, I think, and he cuts his leg. And I actually read, when I was doing a little research on this, I don't know how I missed the 1 year gap, but he got a leg cut that was so severe. I think there was something going on. It was a staph infection or something. It nearly killed him.
Jeez,
he nearly died in this role. Then he went away and took a year's break and came back. So that shows you real dedication, as I did say. Ingenuity as well, Stephen. Obviously, he does try to open up the coconut initially. He smashes the rock off it. I'm like, you're doing it wrong, Tom. Come on.
Yep.
Chuck, I should say. But he does. He opens up the packages later on, and he's got the skaters, sort of ice skates, and he uses the blade to cut it open. Just
cuts his hand.
Yeah, obviously, and he's screaming, I'm done with this. The sound of the coconuts at night as well, falling and continually waking.
That was hilarious.
He was terrified, and I thought, that would be me.
Yeah.
Middle of the night, in the middle of an island, on your own, you're hearing sounds, you're like, shit, this is some Yeti going to eat me up.
Cannibal.
Probably, Yes, man, that's your worst fear. You say it's a worst island, Stephen, but it really isn't. If you landed on that Indian island that exists with that sort of disconnected tribe that shoot bows and arrows at helicopters and whatnot, that is a worst island. At least he's on his own here. He's time to find himself and escape. That would have been much, much worse. But Stephen, obviously, he uses the nets off the dress and whatnot. He starts fishing. Finds he's absolutely useless at it though, because he's taking the crab apart and spiking it, and it's just running out. The meat, he can't cook it.
He needs to cook it,
There's no fire.
Yeah.
And it's not really until the legendary Wilson is born. I think he cuts his hand and puts the finger, the handprint on it.
That's when he cuts his hand on the blade, isn't it?
His fortunes change.
Yeah. Or is it when he cuts his hand when he's trying to light the fire? I can't remember. But it's when he cuts his hand anyway, that's the point, you know.
I think it's when he lights the fire.
It's not until... You're right though, John, it's until Wilson appears on the scene. Nothing's really gone right for him. And I think... He gives Wilson a glance when the flame actually ignites, as if was that you that did that? You know, did you notice that? You know, it was like, what happened there? That never happened before until you appeared on the scene. It's like a good luck charm for him, you know. But obviously, this character Wilson, we'll obviously get more into this as we go on, John, because obviously there's quite an emotional scene later on in the film. I think it's an amazing scene. I've got to be honest.
It's
a lot
incredible.
of people, when I went to see it in the cinema, a lot of people kind of sniggered at it, you know, and I thought, I don't think that's right to do that, because there's a bit of symbolism in there, you know.
Sociopaths, that's what that is, Steve.
Yeah, and there's a bit of meaning in there as well. You know, put yourself in this guy's shoes, or his lack of shoes actually, but put your guy, you know, in this position, you know, and see how you got on being on an island for 4 years for yourself, you know. You need companionship. That's another sort of meaning in this film as well, companionship and lack of for this character Chuck. But it was good, John. He obviously mastered how to, you know, crack the coconuts. Said he couldn't live on them too long. It was, you know,
his tooth crazy, yeah. It
was driving. I think as well. It was obviously affecting his toilet routine, you know. You know, all that milk.
Steve, the fire sequence as well, though, we have to touch upon the dance. Come on, baby, light my fire. Fire, I have made fire. And he's hitting his chest and doing all of this. Just again, I don't think anyone other than Tom Hanks could have played this role.
No.
I can't imagine it. It's like Harrison Ford with Han Solo or Indiana Jones. There was other names. I think Kurt Russell was up for those roles. Wouldn't have been right.
No.
I think Tom Selleck may have been up for goddamn Indiana Jones, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
I think
yeah.
David Letterman says that in a show,
Yeah.
and Harrison Ford slapped him down
as well. Was up for Han Solo?
Would have worked.
No.
I'm trying to think of a Han Solo line in Christopher Walken speech. No.
Who's going to fly it, kid? You?
Who's going to fly it? I can't do it. I can't do it, man. We need to get the Big Bang Theory guys on. But Stephen, obviously he does. Wilson is so important for this character, and there's a little moment where he's in the sort of cave. I don't know if it's now or after. It may be actually after the 4-year jump, when he also lances his tooth and he falls to sleep, and then I think it jumps and it's a spike, as you did say, in the fish. That represents a sort of cut. You see this new Chuck for the first time. He's completely ripped. He's much skinnier.
Long hair, beard.
Very long hair and beard, yes. But obviously, he's sleeping in this cave. And the change in the character in that 4-year period, a man who was obsessed with technology and business, he now has the personal belongings. He has that little pocket watch that his wife got, his partner Kelly, I think her name is, you told me it was. Incredible, I actually remembered that in the middle of a show. I usually forget things like that. He's got that pocket watch. I think he's got the Angel package. He's got Wilson.
There's another good thing about the cave as well, John, and it's in his meticulous nature, and I think he obviously gets this from his profession, is how to keep time, with the light of the day. I think it is, isn't it? In the cave, he's able to map out the calendar, which I thought was amazing, and I think that was important, to establish what kind of career this guy had before the accident, and understand how he's able to work that kind of thing out. Certainly I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to actually keep that in my memory every night. Every time it went dark, I'd go, that's Wednesday over with, the 21st, whatever.
You have to write it,
and I would have to keep writing that down. He doesn't have to do that. He's up to a point where he knows exactly. Well, you see it later in the film, John, when he makes his escape from the island. He knows exactly when to go, what way the wind's turning, etc. He waits for the right moment. So it's just in his nature to be able to work that out and map it out.
He's a very intelligent guy, Stephen. As I did say, great ingenuity. Also, he got a great mind. You see that as well. He's working out the mathematics to figure out these search radius. He's doing like pi squared and all this crap. He works out, I think it's 502,000 squared miles is their search radius, and he thinks we may never be found.
Yeah.
But Stephen obviously does. You made a comment about the time. A man who's obsessed with time. He makes some remark to Wilson round about the point where I think he's starting to meticulously plan this escape. He's been doing it for years, as you did say, charting the light and the months and when's the right time to get out with the currents and whatnot. But he says we live and we die by time. Let's not commit the sin of turning our back on time. He gives a little chuckle to Wilson. So it's still part of it within him, but he's definitely matured, or maybe not matured, but developed into a completely different character by this point. And I think putting that time jump in there, it was quite intelligent in that way, because you can't expect that change to be so dramatic. If it only took place over a month, 2 months, it'd be unrealistic. If it's taking place over 4 years, this gives this character so much time and scope to change, and it's more natural. It comes over more natural in the actual movie. So that was really smart from Zemeckis and the writer to do that. Stephen, I've says the brilliant redemptive story arc. I think we've pretty much touched upon this more naturally. I don't think we have to do this sticking to this guideline, but I've says that. I already says it. He has to lose everything, reset, become a better man. And it's just typified by little shots of the guardian angel and whatnot. He's developed. We've done this. He's became a better man. I think that's just one of the big thematical things, as you did say, companionship. Just redeeming this guy into something new.
I think not opening that last parcel as well was important for him, wasn't it? It was to give him something to drive towards as well, that this is my mission. If I ever get off this island, I'm delivering this personally to the person this belongs to, or who it's to go to.
It's almost like Dufresne with San Juantaneo.
Yeah.
You keep that in your head.
It's the hope, isn't it? Yeah.
Stephen, obviously Tom Hanks as well. We have to speak about this remarkable performance from this guy, solo performance. He's talking to volleyballs, he's transformed his physique, as if you did say, a year gap. Just a truly stupendous performance from this guy. He was doing Bale and Ledger-esque method acting 8 years before Bale and Ledger. Well, maybe not 8 years before Bale. I think he was doing it prior to that. In fact, he was doing it as a kid, Christ. But it's just, he was, let's be honest, just a complete tour de force, that guy. But Stephen, he's amazing in this. It's an incredible performance, as I did say. I can't imagine any other actor doing it.
He's not just...
I mean, he's one of the greatest actors of all time.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Certainly for our generation, John. Yeah, definitely. You know, and we live in a time where we can appreciate the guy's talents. But you're right. I mean, he's not just talking to volleyballs, arguing with volleyballs, bickering with volleyballs. You know, and it's so convincing. You know, and
the rope scene.
Yeah, it's everything about it, John. It really is. It's tragic in a way as well, the character. But you're absolutely right. You know, Hank's performance in this film. It's very surprising why he was overlooked for the Academy Awards in some kind of capacity. You know, but I'm sure there was very good reason for it.
Crowe, Stephen.
Yeah,
he won for The Gladiator.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean,
and it was a fantastic performance.
Amazing performance from Russell Crowe. But you're absolutely right. You know. Just going back to Tom Hanks and his performance in this, I mentioned yesterday when we were talking about Harrison Ford's performance in The Fugitive, and he spent a lot of time on his own in that film, you know, having to obviously just act in scenes where he had no one to bounce off of. This is like magnified by 100 times. Probably about 90% of this film, Tom Hanks has to just act with his surroundings, you know. Yep. It's funny because Mark Hamill always moaned about having to act with a CG, not a CG puppet, and a practical effect puppet. You know, try and do what this guy's doing on an island himself with a volleyball with blood on it and talking to it and bickering with it and having a relationship with it. Amazing, John. I remember coming out the cinema with my dad, and my dad said that was a really good film, wasn't it? You know, and it was, you know, and it's down to Tom Hanks. You know, it really is. You know, he carried this film. This film could have absolutely nosedived if it was anyone else. It had to be someone of his calibre to pull this off.
Stephen, I can't put it any better myself. It's just a fantastic performance, it really is. And you're right, the whole success of this movie, the believability had to be carried by this guy. And you can't get a better man than that to come in and do it. He's just transformative, really.
Yeah.
Stephen, the meticulous planning though, his successful escape, he's getting rope, he's getting up. I think the symbolism of that sort of token hanging, that could have been him, but he replaced it.
Yeah.
He found hope. Now he goes back and gets the same rope it could have took his life, and that proves vital to getting him off. The little porta cabin, I think it comes from Bakersfield or something like that.
Yeah.
And the ingenuity of using that to flex open when he goes over the final wave. Again, you touched upon it, he's just meticulous, he's going for the sort of light and whatnot, he's planning it out to the absolute tiny little minutiae. I really enjoyed the scene when he breaks free. I just thought it was...
I love the music, John, when he looks back at the island, once he's clear of that first wave, you know, kind of looks back, it's quite...
amazing.
It's quite an emotional score from Sylvester at this point, you know, there's part of, you know, Chuck's... I think he was grateful for the island. I think, you know, it saved his life, it really did, you know, but at the same time, it held him back as well, you know, because of the fear of the unknown, which lies in front of him now at this point in the film. It was such a brave thing to do as well, you know. I'll be honest, John, if I was in that position, I probably would have just stayed on the island and been a coward about it. I think I would have, you know. I think
you don't like fish though, Stephen.
I know. I don't really like coconuts
Coconuts for life.
You know, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? You know, what do you do? I'd rather just starve to death on an island.
Yeah, Stephen, I agree.
Rather than going out in that water.
I'd just jump off a cliff. I've got to be honest with you. I'm not going into the Pacific Ocean. No chance.
Wasn't character not say there was a possibility he could have actually just snapped his neck and, you know, he would have survived, you know?
Whoa.
That's horrendous.
Oh, yes. Yeah, man, I didn't think of that. Yeah, sort of Christopher Reeves is. Yeah. You're stuck on the island. What a terrible existence. Stephen, he leaves the island. You're right about the Sylvester score. I've says it may be the first bit of score in the entire movie.
It's funny.
I actually don't know. I'd have to have went back and checked the early parts of the movie.
Well, there's nothing stands out. I'm sure there was in the background, John playing, but for a Sylvester score, it's always at the forefront, you know, and up to that point, I don't know how long in, maybe halfway through the film, maybe a bit more.
I know, 10 minutes in, yeah. And it comes in and it's just, you're right, it's emotional. It frames the scene beautifully. Stephen, it's almost like a well-known club here. They talk about their goalkeeper, football analogy here, where they have to do nothing for large periods of the game, and then when they're called into action, it has to be perfect, or it's disaster. It's almost like this with this score. But when he's called into action, he absolutely nails it, Stephen. I mean, it's just stupendous, the little bits of score. And we've seen this guy do it time and again, man. We know what he's all about with the Avengers movies and whatnot. He's just he's one of the all-time great,
I would say so, yeah,
composers, and this movie is just littered with great sort of crew and cast members. Well, not cast members, there's only really Tom Hanks in here, but there's a couple, which we'll probably get into when we speak about performances, but just on a technical level, it's just magnificent, this movie as well. But Stephen, obviously Wilson and the whale, I mean, I have to speak about the whale first. It comes first. God awful whale CG. That whale when it pops out of the water, the eye, and then it sinks back down, it's terrible.
Yeah, it looks like a log. It just doesn't look right. It's something not right about that, and the sort of scale of it, and how close it is to him, and how, I don't know, it seems like it's friendly. I don't know.
Stephen, it tracks him all the way to the actual tanker,
right?
And it wakes him up when Wilson's about to disappear into the horizon. It wakes him up when this big oil tanker is obviously sailing past him. So it's almost again like a guardian angel, this whale. I don't know what that was about, but maybe just a little MacGuffin, a convenient little plot device to wake him up. So we get that sort of emotional sequence that you did touch upon when Wilson does. He says, sayonara, I've said. Going back to, obviously, Con Air, sayonara. It is, Stephen, it's just a great relationship it's fostered between this man and this volleyball, and you're right, it's just...
It shouldn't work.
It shouldn't work. It's getting no right working. It's a ridiculous concept, but it does work.
But you've seen The Shape of Water, so anything's possible.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yes. So, that still disturbs me to this day. What the hell were you doing, Benicio del Toro? What were you doing? Not Benicio, Guillermo del Toro. Sorry, Benicio. But you were involved in The Last Jedi, so that's even worse in some way. But Stephen, the grief that Chuck feels in this scene, I think, just typifies the development of this character.
Yeah.
He's went from a guy who doesn't even know his best friend's wife's got cancer to absolutely bawling his eyes out over losing a volleyball.
He keeps saying I'm sorry, doesn't he?
Yes.
I think he feels, guilt that he's deserted Wilson, Obviously, I don't know if you noticed at the very end of the film, in his car, he's actually got a new one.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think it's just sort of a
comfort blanket.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but it was such a great scene. And it's Tom Hanks absolutely bawling. At this volleyball and the departure of the friendship was it was powerful. It was. I remember watching it in the cinema, and as I said, there was a few sniggers from some people, but I don't think they understood what the purpose of the scene was, and it was a partner ways as well, wasn't it? It was time to move on, and it was almost like Wilson was leaving him more than, that's the way I took it anyway. It was like Wilson was saying, you're on the right path now, you don't need me,
exactly,
and that's, this is where we'll say our farewells. So
absolutely,
I thought it was great.
Yeah, Stephen, that's it. I mean, thematically, he guided them through the island.
Yeah,
all the good things that happened at the start were because of Wilson, and that sort of fostering of a companion when he's on his absolute lonesome. And then now that he's finding his way onto the horizon and getting back to his old life, he doesn't need Wilson anymore, so he goes off into the sunset. And it was just perfectly crafted. I don't know why anyone would laugh at that. Clearly get hearts of stone, absolute shitheads, or they're just sociopaths, which is essentially the same thing anyway. But Stephen obviously he returns to his own life. He's picked up by this oil tanker.
Yeah.
Again, just the editing. They don't really linger on it. They don't show him being brought onto this ship. It just cuts. He's on a jet plane with his friend.
He's all cleaned up, yeah.
He's all cleaned up. He's been given a Dr. Pepper with 2 glasses of ice. He says, I do love ice. I bet you do. You've not had any for 4 years, Chuck.
Yeah.
But I like that, just the editing. They don't hang around. We've seen it with the cut for 4 years.
Yeah.
Everything's very slick, and the movie never overstays its welcome at any point. The scenes are just perfectly in length. They're just perfectly, I don't know, spaced out,
well,
for
John,
lack of a better word.
It's interesting you should say that, John, because I did moan the other day about sort of films that go on and on, like Speed, and Con Air. This film had to have that sort of ending where you've got to understand that life has moved on since Chuck went missing.
Yeah.
And people's relationships have changed. The acceptance of his supposed death. They even had a funeral, and there was a point where they actually said what was in the coffin. I actually laughed at that.
They put their own little thing in it.
Yeah, Elvis tapes and stuff like that. So I thought it was important because I wouldn't like to have ended with him getting picked up on the tanker.
No.
And then just see him going home or something like that. I wanted to see where his relationships would go after that, but I don't think you're right. I don't think the film hinges on it too long. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It just seems to handle it as best as it can, without skimming over the surface, but without having to go too deep either.
Yeah, he's found, and that's it. That's him back to his old life, and we dive into where this guy goes after this, how he adjusts after being on an island on his own, eating crab and coconut for like 4 years, and he doesn't really adjust well, Stephen. We see it. He's thrust into the spotlight. They'll bring them back from the dead. He's getting thrust up onto a stage, I think, at the FedEx, whatever the hell, an airport. All his old companions and work colleagues are there to celebrate. But he's on his own, he's in this room. The only person he wants to see is Kelly. And of course, this shithead husband, dentist guy, he comes in and tries to get in the way. He's obviously fearful that if they come back together, he's gone. Forget about it. He's lumbered with a daughter and she's away. Which is something we'll get on to, Stephen. That was a bone of contention for many people with this movie. But I just hated that guy. I hate the fact that he came in and split up that potential reunion at the airport. But obviously it happens later. And the scene is fantastic, Stephen, the sequence. But just prior to that, we see him sleeping on the floor. He's not using the bed and whatnot. He's just flicking the light on. He's just a guy who's just a man out of time, essentially. He's almost like a Steve Rogers in the MCU, but not, obviously. It's not like that. It's not that kind of movie. This is more a Scorsese kind of movie. A movie maker's movie, not a filmmaker's film, because movie's a dirty word. It's different, apparently. But Stephen, what did you make about these scenes when he finally meets with Kelly again? It's absolutely battering it down. It's that Hollywood rain again. It's very...
She kept his car.
Is it Memphis?
Yeah, it's Memphis, yeah.
Is it raining that heavy in Memphis?
She kept his car, which I thought was a nice touch. There's also a bit as well where he's got to accept that life has moved on. You know, he's looking at photographs of the husband and the young daughter that she has. And there is a point where he can sense he's getting angry about the situation. He says, let's just get one thing straight here. And then I think he goes on to about a football team or something like that, isn't it?
You've got a pro football team and they've moved to Houston or something.
Yeah,
I think it was the Oilers moved to...
It's as if he just switched what he was going to... It was, let's get it straight. You've moved on, you know, and I think that's what he was getting at. And then he realised this isn't her fault. No. You know, you can't blame her for this. It was I thought both of them in this scene was brilliant. Absolutely, just nailed the sort of tension between the two of them, and obviously the naivety as well. It's a unique situation to be in. She thought he was dead. You know, he has to come to terms with the fact that life has moved on. It's been 4 years, you know, and he's got to accept that. Life isn't always perfect, you know, and this is the thing that I always have to understand, and I have to get my head round when I watch this film for its ending, John. It's not the sort of fairy tale ending that a lot of people might have hoped for, but I think it's better as well. I really do. I think it's more realistic the way it's handled. Yeah,
because Stephen, it's not like that in real life. It's not fairy tales. People would move on.
Yeah.
But we do see, I think it's beautiful the way they handle Kelly in these sequences as well. It shows that she did just get over him. There's some line, I'll try and find it. I think, I always knew you were alive. Everybody said you were dead. I'm paraphrasing, I can't even remember the full quote. I've wrote it, but I don't think it's quite correct. Said that I wasn't letting go. I love you. You're the love of my life. And Stephen, some of the dialogue in this as well, even after he leaves, the fact he gets in the car with her, and it's almost like he's ready to drive away, and then she gives him a look and they says, you need to go home, don't you?
Yeah.
And drives up into the actual driveway. That is beautiful.
It was a line as well from Tom Hanks as well, which was very tragic, you know, for Chuck. I should never have got on that plane, you know.
Yeah.
And it shows in life, you know, just a split-second decision can change the course of your whole life and others around you as well.
He said you'd be right back, I think he said, in the actual airport. Yeah. And you do that, just forget about it, you're not coming back, my man.
No.
Not for a while anyway. Stephen, there was a couple of other lines. He was speaking to his friend, one in particular. He says, I couldn't even kill myself the way I wanted to. I had power over nothing. And when this feeling came over me like a warm blanket, I knew I had to stay alive, even when I had no hope of ever seeing this place again. He then went on to say, I've ice in my glass and I've lost her all over again. But I'm just glad she was on the island with me, and now I have to do what I have to. I know what I have to do. Just keep breathing and see what the sunset brings, or something like that. The tide will bring with the sunset.
Yeah,
just amazingly acted from Tom Hanks.
Good line.
Brilliant deliverance of the line.
Yeah,
and it's just perfectly sets up the finale. Yeah. The final sort of shot or sequence of the movie where he bumps into Bettina. Is it Bettina?
It's that famous parcel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the famous parcel. He takes it to her ranch. She's not home. We see the angels on the angel thing on the package. You know he's kept it.
Yeah.
He leaves. He's at the crossroads, sort of symbolic of where he is at this juncture in his life. Where does he go? Left, right? Goes to California, goes to Canada, whatever. I can't recall exactly the locations. Just a great sort of shot, and its portrait comes back to the start of the movie, where the FedEx guy goes to the same crossroads. He goes to the ranch. He's speaking to Bettina. Very chilled character, on a lonesome in the middle of nowhere. Shared a love of Elvis between these two characters. Now he is a different man. He is ready to perhaps settle down into a life like that. Speaks to her in the car. She drives away. I think she says, if you go up that way, it's...
Calls him Cowboy,
Yeah, Cowboy. There's miles of nothing to Canada. And then he sees the angels on the back of the truck, and that great looking dog, it's long gone now, sadly. Long gone. Sorry, dog, but you're dead.
20 years.
Which breaks my heart, because I love dogs. But Stephen, I just thought that was cool. The little angel's wings on the actual truck.
Yeah.
And it leaves it open. Does he go to California? Does he go somewhere else? Or does he spin back and go after Bettina and settle down to the life that he was never going to have at the start if he didn't go on this island?
Well, if you're asking me, I would say he goes back to Bettina. I really do think that. I think that's the whole point of the angel wings throughout the film, John. I think it's his destiny. Without sounding melodramatic.
And your density.
Yeah, and I think I think that's what he does. I think it's not like a cliffhanger scene like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels where you just don't know. I get a feeling. I just get this feeling that that's what he does. Just because of the angel wings. Yeah. What would be the point? If that wasn't to be the sort of happy ending that this character deserved.
And the fact that Bettina at the start shows you the package going to Russia, I think it goes to her husband. He's working from home, he's cheating.
Yep.
She also splits up, she gets wind of it.
Exactly.
She's on her own, it's just perfect. She's got a dog, he comes in, boom.
Yep.
Happily ever after, great ending.
I think so, yeah.
But the fact they don't hit it home by actually showing you him travelling, it's just perfect. It's perfectly handled.
I think so.
And that's William Broyles Jr., Stephen. I mean, you look at this man, this writer, Apollo 13, Castaway, Flags of Our Father. He does have Planet of the Apes in there as well, the Mark Wahlberg one. A disaster of a movie, that. But more hits than not. Just a tremendous writer. Working with Zemeckis, just perfect, man. And the cinematographer, we can't speak about that great shot of the crossroads and not speak about Don Burgess. This guy, a Burgess. Again, Castaway, Forrest Gump, Contact, The Conjuring 2. Knows what he's doing, man. Just perfect.
It's such a great cast,
it really is.
And a great crew as well, John. And it's again, it's Robert Zemeckis working with guys that he's worked with before. Cinematography's, I know it's an Islander one. We talked about Shutter Island the other week there. It captures it perfectly. There's actually that hanging shot that I always remember as well from above the cliff, where it kind of goes up and then it kind of looks down to show you to show you the sort of depth of or the height of how high he's up. Just everything about it. It's just that. I think he captures what he has to, out with obviously the dodgy whale. It's just a great short film.
It is, Stephen. Just as I did say, the sequences on the plane, the sort of final escape from the island, the way it pans down on the craft and whatnot, just beautiful. The way he captures Wilson as well.
It's and the blue pilot,
Yes, the blue pilot. They never spoke about the blue pilot and him nicking his shoes. What a CUNT he was at the start of this movie, Chuck, but he developed.
He buried them.
He did, he buried them. It's very shallow grave though.
Yeah.
And then he got his name wrong as well. So again, Albert, it wasn't Albert, it was Alan or something like that. So again, he thought he was friends with this guy, he didn't even know his name. Selfish shit of a man at the start of this movie. Totally disconnected. He didn't have a clue what was going on in his life out with FedEx. But Stephen, final thoughts on this movie before my voice goes, because I feel like it's starting to dry up just now. As I said, 0 Oscar wins. Did it deserve better? What was your lasting thoughts on this movie? Also, you've seen it in the cinema. I never did see it in the cinema or theatre. But I just love this movie. It's Zemeckis, as I did say.
Yeah.
I love the guy, although I didn't know he done. Goddamn Forrest Gump. How's that possible? Perhaps I didn't, it just slipped my mind. Lord knows. But I love this movie, man. I love Tom Hanks. Everything about it comes together. It's just perfect.
I can't really add anything else to that, John, other than it's a very unique film. There's not, in my book anyway, there's been films where people have been castaways in islands and stuff like that, Robinson Crusoe or whatever.
Swiss Army Man.
But yeah, there's just exactly. But there's something just about this film that the man on the island isn't really the story. It's about the development of the character, what he was and what he became. And that's what the most important sort of message in this film is.
Really is, Stephen. Deep themes been explored, really enjoyable experience all in all. But look, guys, what is your thoughts on Castaway? A great movie from all the way back in 2000, 20 years ago now. Makes me feel old. What's your thoughts on Tom Hanks' performance? Do you think he deserved the Oscar over Russell Crowe, or do you think they got it right, the Academy? An organisation renowned for getting things wrong at times. What's your thoughts on this movie in general? You can comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. If you do, then you'll see us again on Monday for another movie review.